And the way that I like to explain that whole situation is essentially like when I left the takeoff platform, I said goodbye to that life. There's pain that I feel. I feel a deep grief for that life that I once had. And in a parallel lane, I I also choose to recognize that experience as a gift. In that moment, 30 seconds after crashing and regaining consciousness, I knew that life was going to be very different. Immediately, I knew.
Right.
And there was a part of me that was already mapping out my trajectory. This is your strange and beautiful life, yeah.
All right. This is your strange and beautiful life. Wow. Hi, everybody, and welcome to This Is Your Strange and Beautiful Life. My name is Erica J. Schmidt, and on my podcast, I talk to people who may or may not have had the chance to transform their lives into spectacular TED Talks. And today, my guest is Luke Anderson. Hooray! Luke Anderson is a speaker, singer, dancer, harmonica player, accessibility advocate, and athlete of the body turned athlete of the spirit. In 2011, Luke had been rolling around the streets of Toronto for a while, and he was getting frustrated because over and over again, he couldn't get himself into the stores and businesses and buildings he wanted to access due to just like little steps. You don't think much of these little steps, but if you got a powered chair, it's not a straight line up. It's, tricky. So, frustrated, Luke, he bands together with his pal, Michael Hopkins, and they founded the StopGap Foundation. A decade and a pandemic later, StopGap is becoming famous for its bright and beautiful ramps that eliminate the barriers created by single-step entrances. You can find thousands of StopGap ramps gracing businesses throughout Toronto and across Canada. And today we are so lucky to have Luke here with us with his wisdom, sense of humor, virtuoso harmonica playing. Everybody, you must listen to the end or you will miss out deeply. Luke Anderson, this is a big honor. Thank you so much for coming. Welcome to This Is Your Strange and Beautiful Life. How are you doing?
Erica, what a wonderful intro. Thank you so much for articulating me in such a glowy, shiny way. Thank you.
That's my favorite thing to do. I want to do that for all of my guests. I choose my guests with from my heart, and I'm like, this is your moment. I want them to have the best bios. I have a ukulele around my neck, so I'm going to be right back. And we'll be right back. A quick and very fun break. Very quick, very fun. This is going so well. We're back from our very quick and very fun break. I'm here with Luke Anderson. And so, Luke, first question right off the bat. So, language in the world of disabilities, not everybody is familiar with the, do's and don'ts. And this can result in like dehumanizing choices or just less than ideal choices in words, not always malicious. But I was wondering for our vast audience, all the people listening at home, if you could give us some ideas on how we can use language, choose our words to empower, connect, remove barriers, and create a sense of possibility, but no pressure.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for that question. I think to frame this one, we have to zoom out a little bit and just begin the conversation with an okayness to not know. It's okay. And I'm coming from my own experience of having never considered certainly the topic of language when it comes to disability, or my experience these days, which is using a power wheelchair, all of these things that I'm working on every day were the farthest thing off of my radar at one time in my life before my spinal cord injury. So it's okay. Listeners out there, it's okay to not know. I'm just inviting you to embody that permission to screw up, and and gifting everyone with this opportunity to be curious. And so with that, we can dive a little bit further into this topic of language. Language is nuanced and it's constantly evolving, and we can choose to use language that is empowering, and we can, through that process, remove barriers, because disempowering language has a compounding effect, happens subtly, but when it happens for a long period of time over that trajectory, it can create barriers. And the barriers, for me, land in a felt way, where there's these like subtle jabs that hurt and can be painful and harmful. They happen subtly, and we could play with this a little bit. So everybody listening, just tune into what it might feel like for you when you hear the word or term handicapped parking spot. Just let that linger for a little bit. And then tune into what it feels like to hear the term accessible parking spot. Clock how that lands. And this happens very subtly, very subtle shifts in the way that those terms might land. And it's that subtle compounding effect when we hear a term like handicapped that points to how we can remove barriers by choosing empowering language. Some people may prefer identity first language where their disability comes first. So an example of that would be a disabled person, whereas person first language would look like a person with a disability. Language is nuanced, and we're all to do our own homework and inform ourselves on language that we're moving away from. So I referenced one of those words, and there's a lot of other resources out there that can help empower us to use language in an empowering way. And we're to be curious, like I said, out of the gate, with this permission to not know, permission to screw up. When we're not knowing, we can put our best efforts forward our hearts forward to ask and just listen. And using that practice, I'd say 98.5% of the time, our questions will land with softness and receptivity.
Right. It's not like about being a language police, right? It's like just please don't tiptoe around and worry about being canceled. And yeah, like I think there was one really simple, like people will say, "Oh, he's in a wheelchair." I mean, and a little worse than that is like confined, right? Confined to a wheelchair. But to make that like active, you say like wheelchair user, right? Like that's like more empowering, I think, from what I've.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bound to, lives
Yeah.
life in,
Yeah.
confined to a wheelchair. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, that these are terms that we hear fairly regularly in
Mm-hmm.
the media. Um, they're terms that are being circulated to this day, and so with that, we get conditioned to have those terms be programmed as part of our vernacular, but we're to work on deprogramming that.
Yeah, and once you hear it, like once you, I mean, I worked at camps for kids with physical disabilities. I've been in the world for a long time. Like once you hear it, you can't, it's just like you can't not hear it. You just know that, right? But you have to remember that other people didn't have that experience, right? And it's not about lecturing them, but just saying like these are the more like it's on like the active like terms with the more agency, right?
Yeah, precisely.
Great. Well, we will keep that spirit of empowering language. We'll try throughout the interview. But you identify as a wheelchair user. And I think you've said, as someone with a profound disability, you have a high level spinal cord injury. And I was pretty sure what that meant, but I did look it up. But could you describe your physical reality and what that means for your day to day life?
Yeah, so I live with a high level spinal cord injury, and what that means is my spinal cord was injured at the cervical 4 and 5 vertebrae. So if you gently lean your head forward, there's a vertebrae just above your shoulder blades that sticks out more than the rest of them.
Okay.
That's your C6 vertebrae.
Okay.
Sticks out a little bit more than the rest, and then just up from that is your 5 and then 4 and then 3. And I injured my spinal cord at the C3 and so cervical vertebrae 3 and 4 level.
Very high.
Our tissues that protect and serve uh, and enable our spinal cord to communicate the signals that our brain sends to the various muscles in our body um, don't heal after being injured. So because of the injury that I sustained to my spinal cord at that level, it means that the messages that my brain sends to, say, my legs, and my hands, and other, you know, sensation, um, sensorial nerves below my mid chest, they don't get through. Because of that, I need to, well, rely on a power wheelchair to get around, and I need to rely on others for help, doing everything from brushing my teeth to getting in and out of bed, helping prepare meals, all of these daily activities that at one time in my life I did pretty much without thinking.
Right.
Kicking the sheets off in the morning and getting out of bed was, something that I and likely many listeners would um not have to really do consciously. It's an
Yeah.
unconscious, flowy type of process that we do every day. So because of my needs, I have a team of great, wonderful people that I've curated and I have the privilege of hiring and managing on my own, um, to help me out in the morning and at night. Um, During the day, I'm fairly independent, but it's the night and the morning routines where I'm needing support with my daily activities. Yeah.
With like transitions kind of thing, like from one outfit to another, one like position to another. If it starts at the top of your neck, but then like a lot of people regain some motion in their arms with that kind of injury, like you can move your arms to use the joystick in your wheelchair kind of thing. Like there's a bit.
I have limited movement, articulation, or innervation in my arms. So my biceps have a degree of innervation, so my muscles are able to fire
Mm-hmm.
to a certain degree, not to what they were pre-injury, that's for sure. Um, and a little bit of muscle innervation in my forearm
Okay.
on both on my left side more than my right. So the spinal cord on my right side was injured a little bit more than on my left. So my right side is weaker. Uh, every every spinal cord injury is unique, and
Right.
and severity, the level, there isn't one that is the same as another. So some injuries over time heal, and there's a regaining of um, there is a regaining of muscle innervation. Um, I It usually happens soon after injury, like a few months or so. And I experienced a little bit of that where immediately following my injury, I didn't have any arm movement.
Right.
And then once the swelling decreased and there was some healing achieved in the tissues surrounding the spinal cord, I was able to regain some muscle uh, action in my arms. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. Like it is different. It's like any disability, right? You want to, like, people really want to categorize. Oh, it's like this, like cerebral palsy looks like this, muscular dystrophy looked like this, but everybody's just like, eyesight. Everybody their experience is really different. But yeah, thanks for sharing. And then just to go back, like with a bit of history, but you haven't always been a wheelchair user. You described yourself as an athlete of the body, and I think quite a gifted athlete. You were very, very into sports growing up, like hard sports like hockey and lacrosse, like team sports. Then on my understanding, I did a deep dive on Luke Anderson. But you got like sort of this hunger for some deep thrills, like jumping off bridges, climbing trees, kind of like the higher the better. And then you fell in love with mountain biking in like the most extreme way, right? It was very extreme sport, and you kind of went all in. So after university, I think you became an engineer in your early 20s, and you moved out to British Columbia, which is known for its like mountains and outdoor activities. And you're just like living and breathing mountain biking, loving it. And then it's a lovely day, October 2002, almost 23 years ago. You're 24 years old. And then this day would become known in your life's history as your rebirth day, your day of rebirth. And as much as you're comfortable, can you tell us a little bit about your life leading up to this day and then how everything changed all at once?
Yeah. Yeah. I identified as a gifted athlete. All of my free time was enjoyed being on my bike, playing, in the water. I loved water skiing, windsurfing. In the winter, I was an avid skier and snowboarder, both. I was a long distance runner. I loved I loved cross country season in high school. Um, you name it, essentially, I did it. I was really able to pick up sports quickly. Climbing, um, and living in the interior of BC, I picked up a love for backcountry skiing. So really identified as an athlete, and I was very proud of that
Yeah.
identity. I embodied the the whole athlete persona, and it really moved from a place of that embodied identity. And what that looked like was, like you said, me graduating from the University of Waterloo in the spring around this time in 2002, packing up my car and relocating, driving all the way out west and landing in this sleepy little ski bum town and meeting all kinds of other like-minded enthusiasts, riding bikes on the very best trails in the country, if not the world. I was an extremely passionate mountain biker. I loved the sport of mountain biking, and I still do. It's still in me. That
Yeah.
that love for an adrenaline rush is deeply embedded in a part of me. And so I did. I manifested that dream and connected with all kinds of other mountain bikers in the area. And my good friend Johnny, and I at that time we typically got together, and Johnny was a filmmaker, and he'd bring his video camera with him. This was like before GoPros were a thing. So he was a real pioneer in adventure cam design. So he would tape his Sony camcorder to one side of his helmet and then a brick on the other side as a
Yeah.
as a counterweight.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, that's just, yeah, 24, 23 years ago, this is where we were at with our technology. And so, yeah, Johnny and I would often film each other riding some of the more demanding trails in the area. And it was on a ride in late October of 2002, so sort of the fall of the riding season, when we uh, searched out a trail that we'd heard a lot of other riders talking about. And it was a particular section of this trail that we were drawn to. We wanted to film each other jumping this big 25-foot gap towards the end of the trail. And I remember getting the camera set up and filming Johnny jumping that gap and feeling the excitement of having witnessed him jumping it. And just, I mean, this is what we did. We fed off each other's excitement and enthusiasm for pushing ourselves and raising the bar. So naturally, I wanted to experience that same rush, challenge myself, and so I gave him the video camera and did what I needed to do to get myself feeling ready. So making sure I was in the right gear, and after a couple of test runs, um, there was this moment in um, extreme sports where, we do what we need to do to get to a place of feeling a green light, and then we have to let go and leave the rest to um, our innate ability to roll with the punches, in order to push the envelope. And that's applicable to any risk taking we do in life. We let go and trust. So I engaged that practice. I left the takeoff platform and I came up short. I crashed, flew over the handlebars, and landed headfirst, breaking a couple of bones in my upper spine. And the way that I like to explain that whole situation is essentially like when I left the takeoff platform, I said goodbye to that life.
How does it feel to tell that event? I'm sure you've told that story many, many times. And I've heard it a few times, right? But I'm like, I feel the adrenaline, right? I feel the rush of it. Like, how do you feel when you tell that story? Like, is it?
I feel sad.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel excited as
Uh-huh.
well. I feel grateful that I had an experience with something that brought me so much joy.
The biking, or the
The
app.
biking,
Yeah,
the act of mountain biking and the community that surrounded that whole part of my life, the friends that I met along the way and the experiences, the incredible people that were a part of my life at that time and continue to be a part of my life. Um, there's pain that I feel. I feel a deep grief for that life that I once had. And in a parallel lane, I I also choose to recognize that experience as a gift. In that moment, you know, 30 seconds after crashing and regaining consciousness, I knew that life was going to be very different. Immediately, I knew.
right.
And there was a part of me that was was already mapping out my my trajectory.
Yeah, you
With what
said
I
you had visions of people helping you. Like you knew, like you could see, like you had a vision that every people would be coming to your home, like helping you with your day to day life. Like flashes of that. Like what else do you remember about that moment?
Yeah, there's this I've kind of done a little bit of research to figure out what the heck was happening in that moment because it was profound. Yeah, there was a life-saving experience that I witnessed in myself where I had to calm Johnny down.
Right.
He was so rightfully so uh concerned and just not able to think clearly, and I recognize that. um and this safety mechanism, this innate safety mechanism within me kicked in, and I was able to calm myself down in order to direct him through what needed to be done in order to save my life. So
Yeah.
I let him know that I was going to be okay, and he needed to go down to the end of the logging road to call for help.
Right. He was
Thankfully,
like fight or flight, and you're like,
exactly,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. There was this no inner knowing that met me, and
yeah.
I was able to let him know what I needed out of him in order to get myself out of there and to safety. So yeah, I let he was scrambling around for sticks and
Oh,
he'd done
Johnny.
some wilderness first aid. Uh, he wasn't an expert in wilderness first aid, so he was trying to manage as best he could. given the circumstances, and I quickly recognized that this was a really serious situation, and I needed to get out of there real quick.
Yeah. Yeah. But then your life was saved. Like he ran and got help, and you got like helicopter or whatever. You got taken out.
We were in a fairly heavily wooded section of the trail, close to the end end of the trail, kind of near the beginning of the logging road, and so uh, what it meant was when the ambulance came, paramedics had to cut down trees.
Oh,
So
wow.
by this time it was late evening, sun had started to go down. It's quite dark. I remember hearing the ambulance pull up. Then I remember hearing chainsaws get started up, and then I remember seeing bright lights in my eyes because the paramedics were wearing headlamps to guide themselves to where I was laying on my belly. Um, and yeah, I remember getting positioned on the stretcher and and carried out into the ambulance. And then my memory is a little foggy
Okay.
from there, but I was airlifted from an interior hospital to Vancouver General Hospital, where I underwent a 7-hour long surgery to
Wow.
stabilize my spinal cord. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
my spine. Yeah, the broken vertebrae in my spine.
Right. And so you wake up and we'll get into sort of the adaptation process in a bit. But like, I know that sometimes people are hurt, like, you have, well, there's just this kind of let's beat everything, right? Like somebody has stage 4 cancer and they're like, I'm gonna beat the odds, right? Like, and I'm just wondering, like, how much you seem to have this vision that this would be permanent, but was there part of you, like, during your rehabilitation process, that was like, okay, I'm gonna beat the odds, I'm gonna learn to walk again, I'm gonna find the cure to spinal cord injuries? Like, what was your mindset there?
Maybe a hint of that,
Yeah,
Erica, but predominantly there was just this
yeah,
knowing that that wasn't gonna be my experience,
right,
despite at the time, and there's continued news that comes across my radar, that tunes me into research that's going on around spinal cord um, rehabilitation and in air quotes cures for spinal cord injury. I've I've been hearing about research and progress ever since I was in intensive care. And then over time, I've realized that it is in my best interest not to dwell on and wait on a potential cure. I developed a way of life that recognizes the possibilities with what I have now. And the way I've chosen to recognize my physical situation right now is that at the time of my injury, I was experiencing, if you take a look at and just imagine a pie, I was experiencing a piece of the pie of life. That was my periphery. That was my field of view. This pie, slice of the pie of life. And because of my injury and it helping me broaden my perspective, I'm now able to see a new slice of that pie of life. So that kind of speaks to what I was saying earlier about that moment, that injury that I sustained on October 27th, 2002 as a gift. It gifted me an opportunity to see life through a new lens.
And a broader lens and like more depth, maybe richer.
All of that.
Yeah.
And with that different perspective, it also comes with an awareness of this pain that's real and that I feel every day. Every waking moment of the day, there's a feeling of grief for a life that was.
That you
That's
love.
real.
Yeah. Yeah. In a video I saw on Instagram, you said that you don't believe there are accidents and that you believe in a divine order. And, you know, there's lots of people out there who could say that and it wouldn't necessarily land, you know, like they maybe just like influencers, like everything happens for a reason, but without that lived experience, you know. But for me, when I heard you say that, it just felt like I remember feeling very moved because it rang so true. But yeah, you're talking about the grief of losing the life that you loved, right? You loved your life on your bike, and it's just like you're faced with this huge change. Your life is like suddenly unrecognizable. And yeah, that it's a significant loss, and there is this grief that you say is with you always. And I think I appreciate that. Like I appreciate it's not like sugar coated. But you also talk about climbing a ladder of consciousness and moving from a place of fear and shame and darkness to a place of love and acceptance and joy. And I'm wondering how if you can describe like how you navigated those early stages of grief, because it's, you know, any change is hard, but this is so huge. Like it must have been such a shock. And yeah, how did you get to that place? You're climbing the ladder into where you are now, where you do see that day as a gift, and you're at a place where you can embrace your journey and celebrate your life as it is.
Yeah. Well, I just want to note a number of things that you've brought up. There's this concept of accidents not being a thing, and I believe that. I believe that injury that I sustained that day in 2002 was preventable. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for taking on what I did. I made a choice and I crashed. I'd made choices in my mountain biking career uh, where the stakes weren't quite as high. Crashed, maybe, I don't know, sprained an ankle or got a scraped elbow. But the stakes were higher and I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready that day. And I extrapolate that, you know, that statement about really that not being an accident that day. That was an experience that I've chosen to recognize as an opportunity, as a gift to climb the ladder of consciousness. I was served. I've been served up in this lifetime an opportunity to grow skills of patience, acceptance, empathy, compassion, moving from a lower rung of experiencing, yeah, shame and guilt, anger, and choosing to work on cultivating heightened awareness of being in the world that looks like recognizing and honoring these these feelings within myself of grief, and how, if I don't recognize the the pain and the frustration and the the anger, if I don't recognize that and name it and sit with it, I've learned that it can come out in really disastrous ways, really catastrophic, disruptive, disruptive ways that lead to breakups in romantic relationships, and um, everything from pain in my jaw from clenching it too tight to these tragic expressions of frustration and impatience with people in my life. And through this process of choosing to recognize my physical situation now as an opportunity, as a gift to deepen my connection with myself and the world around me.
Yeah, I think of patients. I've heard different interviews with you saying, on one hand, you're quite patient, and then the other hand, there's this frustration. But I think, like, when you fell off your bike, you're waiting. That's like the first great moment of patience and trust where you're just like, okay, Johnny, go get help. And then you have to wait, and people are cutting down trees to come and get you. And it's like this like profound moment of surrender. I mean, emotional regulation, like, Luke, this is my this is my great challenge in life, right? And like, yeah, how do you do that? Like, how like, just like whatever our physical, it's just right, because I think that maybe you can easily distract yourself. Like, you can easily find distractions and avoid like the pain, right, of life, but it does come back to haunt you if you don't deal with it. Like how did you honor the grief? Like, and how do you honor the grief without like just, yeah, staying, like climbing towards like, your purpose, and as opposed to like, as I think, well, there's people all over the world, like with and without spinal cord injuries, who don't, they stay in that. They stay in the grief and the shame, like the difference between wallowing and honoring. I'm always interested in that, because sometimes I think I can wallow a little too much, and then how to get to the like feel your feelings without like, and then get to a different place.
Yeah. Well, I think there's room for being in it.
Yeah.
We got to be in it. And I avoided being in it because I was scared. I was scared of what it would look like to allow myself to be in it, because it's dark. And I lived in it through my rehabilitation when I was going through that transition. Learning how to live life in my new physical situation was a really dark time, and it was compounded by being isolated in my room with my roommate Bruce, this older guy, senior, lovely human, but we endured through a 3-week quarantine during SARS
Oh yeah,
in
SARS.
2003, where
Right.
we weren't allowed to see our family and friends. Nurses and therapists were coming into our room with like the full
Spacesuits.
shebang,
Yeah.
spacesuits, and so yeah, enduring that time during rehab, I was gifted again with an opportunity to contribute to my hometown paper. So a friend was the editor at the time of the paper, and then she asked me if I'd be willing to write a column in the
Oh.
paper, and so I took her up on the offer, and I started a writing practice that helped me. dive in to some of the things that were coming up for me. And through that creative practice, to answer your question, what does it what does it look like to endure and be with this really heavy stuff, this heaviness that I've experienced on a daily basis? It really requires a practice, and it's a I know you have a creative practice that helps you,
Yeah.
be with the challenges that you have, and for me, um, how I am able to support myself through my different creative practices that I have, and just being with the pain, and the pain looks like tension and tension in my chest, tightness in my throat, uh, thoughts thoughts that revolve and on a and like there's memories that I have that run on a loop.
Yeah.
Really joyful times and just memories that I have of whether it's riding my bike or barefoot water skiing, like skimming across the water at over 60 kilometers an hour on my bare feet. That
Yeah.
was me, and there was so much joy that came with that, and just allowing myself to be with those memories
Yeah.
and not choosing not to shove them away in a closet, honoring the those moments and the joy that I experience, because that's part of the grieving process. So
Yeah.
I've come to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I think sometimes I just think sometimes there's a premature, like people, there's just this sort of like, there's this overcoming. Our culture is very much about overcoming and not, and like, it's like, oh, well, you lost your leg, but now you're climbing a mountain and everything is great. Right. But like, I actually had a friend who lost her leg, and I remember asking her the anniversary day. I was like, "Oh, was that a hard day?" She was like, "Oh, I spent like many hours crying in bed." And I was like, "Oh, it was a hard day." And she said, "No, I never forget this." She says, "No, it was a good day. Like it was a good day, but I had to cry for like I needed that as well, right?" And so to have the two things simultaneously, right? Like the loss and the opportunity at the same time, I think is refreshing.
Yeah, I think that we've been conditioned to take the heavy-handed measures where being recognized uh for just trucking our way through and moving on, and I guess for me, pushing it aside and moving on with life. It was such a detrimental experience that I
I,
plugged myself into that mode of just like moving forward without honoring the loss, or without having really at the beginning the tools to work with my loss and the pain that I feel around that loss. I wasn't set up at the beginning with any kind of understanding or any practices that could help me with that.
right, like you didn't see a therapist. How long would you say that like it took, and was there a turning point, or like not, of course honoring that it's always like it's not like goodbye grief, but like was there a moment where you're like, okay, I think I can live with both, like all of this complexity?
Yeah, it happened more recently. So
Okay.
I think yeah, over the pandemic I was given all of us were lots of time with ourselves, most
Yeah.
of us, some not. Uh I'm recognizing that. But for me, it was very isolating, and it kind of forced me to go deep and really be with what the heck was going on inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, like creative practices, like finding just like purpose in small things, but it's helpful. But would you have like a lot of people out there are feeling lost, whether or not they've experienced a great loss, but do you have any tips for anybody who's like trying to find some kind of purpose and meaning in their life, like to deal with whatever grief they have? Like,
Mm. Yeah, I think if I were to uh if I were to maybe suggest or invite people into this journey, if they're just beginning, it's with um slowness, really diving in, with babies, not diving in, but really approaching the work with baby steps. So what I like to do is imagine that grieving part of me sitting beside I like to imagine that grieving part sitting beside a calm lake,
mm,
like crystal clear glass lake in the morning. Maybe there's some mist rising up above it, you know, warm, and there's that part that's in pain, just sitting by the lake. And I'm imagining myself as an observer of that grieving part, just approaching it slowly, gradually getting closer, and then sitting down beside it
yeah.
and maybe putting my arm around it if that felt like it would be received, and just sitting there with it.
Yeah. And like no big rush, I guess, like no big urgency, right? Like the patience there is there and like the
No big
yeah.
rush. This is our collectively, we all experience grief to in some shape or form. It could be a loss of or a loss that we experience through a shift in a relationship, or a career change, or we we move, or there's so many different shapes and forms
Yeah.
that that loss can where we can experience loss, and through that loss is an experience of grief. And so with any type of grief work, patience is so key. And I think we're to recognize it as a lifelong um experience, where we are to treat it as a practice.
Yeah.
And over time, we will gradually create more room for that grief to exist in. It will never go away.
Yeah.
It's connected to love.
Yeah.
Yeah, the grief is a response to that job that we really loved and we lost, or that relationship that was so so great and we lost, or um an ability that we had that we loved so much that we've lost.
Yeah. And I just like I don't know. I wish that I could get rid of this the pressure to get over things, you know? Like I think people, if we could just eliminate the like just get
Of
over it,
course.
Erica. Like no, it's
Of
still in
course,
me.
because it's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's hard work.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
hard work.
Yeah.
It's not something that meets us with comfort, and that like gooey ooh-ness.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Well, thanks for sharing. And I've heard you say, yeah, people with disabilities are just by default expected to live largely different lives than those without, right? And people just make that assumption. And we'll talk about the ramps and stopgap soon, but I also wanted to talk about like other aspects of accessibility, like just like how you're able to access like connection, community, relationships. And yeah, I'm wondering how becoming disabled has made connections with friends and lovers harder, and how it has made it easier, or maybe some surprises that you might have encountered.
Yeah, I have experienced shifts in friendships that I had pre-injury. Those connections, some of them were rooted in the activities that we liked
Right.
to do together, and so with the absence of that as a connector, those relationships, those friendships shifted, um, and became there was a growing there has been an experience of distancing. In other cases, there was an opposite experience where there's a closeness that has developed. Yeah, I've got some really incredible people in my life that have been with me through the whole shebang.
Before and after.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
long friendships, right? That's like over 20 years.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Romantic relationships, I yeah, I have experienced many, and each one has we can all attest has been unique and wonderful and challenging. Um, my experiences with the whole dating, um, the whole in the realm of dating with a disability, uh, has had many positives and some challenging experiences as well. Where in the beginning, yeah, there's a lot of learning, a lot of sharing and teaching.
Do you do online dating or it's more in person?
I think I was a serial online dater
Ooh.
for yeah. I had a run there for quite some time that resulted in many great experiences and a lot of learning for
Yeah.
me, a lot of learning for me, and offline encounters that again offered me uh, to this date an understanding that I live a very unconventional life. And for the longest time, I was unconsciously trying to shove a square peg in a round hole. I was
Who was the peg and who was the hole? Oh, you were the peg.
I was trying to create a situation that I think society has implanted in my head that a relationship should look like
Right.
this, very conventional. And that over time I've realized that that is not possible. It just through experience and trial and error, very, very challenging to do. And I say not possible because again, just through my own experience and through this trial and error process of many relationships, some longer than others, I've reached this place of understanding that hey, and it's really a practice in acceptance. I live an unconventional life. My life it looks and is very very unique and very very different. And I think over time, I've also been able to deprogram an image of what I thought a relationship would look like, conditioned through my 24 years pre-injury and then
Yeah.
many years after.
Rom-coms. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that has not served me well.
Right.
I
Doesn't serve
don't
a lot of
know.
us.
Yeah, Erica, I don't know what an unconventional relationship looks like for me. I know there's different interpretations of what unconventional relationships look like, and just in our society, polyamory, for example, is one of those unconventional ways of relating. I don't know what my unconventional relationship situation looks like, but I'm open to exploring that.
Right.
That's where
And
I'm at.
you,
That's
yeah.
where I'm at with my romantic
And you
life.
need someone who's like, I don't, yeah, what is the traditional, like, I don't know. It's like we have, okay, it's love bombing. We're going to have sleepovers every night and you're going to like fulfill all my problem. Like I was feeling bad and now I'm feeling great. So please don't go away because this is really good. And I mean, for me, I had this a couple last year. I was like, okay, now I met this person. This is it. And I'm like making collages and I'm like, it's like suddenly 38 years old, most embarrassing thing. And yeah, like what I'm also trying to like what is realistic as we get older too. We have different priorities, physical limitations, like and yeah, time. But yeah, I mean, so it's like just sort of exploring how like what you're able to offer, what you're able to receive. More like maybe just concrete questions, but like if you went back when you were online dating, like did you disclose your disability right off the bat? Like how did that go?
Yeah, at the beginning of my online dating career,
Yeah.
call it a
You
career
should,
because it really I was a serial online dater.
maybe you could become a relationship coach.
Maybe
Instagram.
I've got some anecdotes. I
Sounds like you're
can
busy, but yeah.
I can
I
drop.
love relationship coaches. Tell us how it went.
I used the online platform as a way to hide my disability, and through some communication back and forth, I slowly let whoever I was communicating with in on my full reality, and that was met with varying degrees of comfort. There were some people that were really put off by that, and I can understand how that would be off-putting. I think I remember being called a catfisher. Yeah,
Oh,
I experienced that once, and so that didn't, of course, land
great.
comfortably, and it kind of brought me into uh, an understanding that, hey, like if I'm going to be doing this, I really need to be honest with myself and those that I'm communicating with, and it was a journey of gaining acceptance with my reality.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, over time, I was able to evolve the way that I was presenting myself, and really owning my
Right.
my
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah. This is maybe personal. I don't know if it was on our list, but I know like some people are specifically drawn to people with disabilities, right? Like I don't know if like fetishization is the wrong word, right? But people have that preference. And like, what is, like, did you experience that? And like, how, I guess, like, really being like connecting because, hey, this is me, and like having like, really being able to present yourself as who you are versus, I mean, I guess love is always kind of like projecting and objectifying. And honestly, I don't mind being objectified sometimes, like, but maybe that's the wrong thing to say. But like, yeah, what was your experience with like, yeah, some people, I mean, it's unfamiliar, right? And so they're just like, oh, they don't have any sense of what that would look like maybe. So they're like, no, that's not for me. But some people are specifically drawn to people with disabilities. And like, how did you navigate that?
Mhm. Yeah, I've had experiences where I've let people in on my world in different shapes and forms, or to certain degrees, and over time there has been a decision to not move forward because it's my way of life is not something that they're looking looking for or interested in. And I get that. I can totally bring compassion and understanding for that response. It's hard. It's hard
Yeah.
to be met with responses like that, and I also bring compassion and empathy and understanding about that because it is a different way of life.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, it is a different way of life. So I've had many experiences with that, and I've also had um, connections where I've been told that my partner has felt safe
Mm.
with me in a way that they have not experienced safety and trust um, with other relationships. So some partners that I've been with to, again, different degrees have had challenging experiences with men, and so their experience with me has allowed them to feel safe. So no, I haven't had experiences of uh, romantic partners expressing
Right. Like I think there's specific
fetishy feels.
websites like that. Yeah. There's
Right.
like special website.
No, that's a thing.
Yeah.
And cool.
Mm-hmm.
That hasn't been my experience, or I haven't pursued those communities.
Yeah.
Um, but I have had a few partners that have expressed what I shared, or this experience of safety for them.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Jane Fonda says. Women need to feel safe, cherished, one other thing. Maybe it's desired or something like that. But yeah, safety is important. And I can imagine, like, I don't know. I mean, right? I mean, this is people don't. It's a sort of classic. It's like, oh, like my experience has made me who I am. But some people who have not encountered adversity, like especially if they've had a lot of privilege, they don't have the empathy that somebody who's had more adversity. I mean, this is pretty simplified, but like, and there's some character that is built, and I can see that being, yeah, finding some safety and depth in somebody who's had a more challenging life path, right? Like, I mean, dating is hard for everybody. I'm obsessed with the show Love on the Spectrum. I love these people so much. Love it. But yeah, I mean, there's just sort of like also like a false assumption that people, like you said, like people with disabilities are just expected to have a totally different life than people without, right? And there's this assumption that you don't have physical desires, or like that just gets turned off, which is like dehumanizing and not true, right? I mean, it's a spectrum. Everybody has different like relationships, and sex are of varying importance, like for everyone, right? So,
Totally. Yeah. No, people with disabilities have sexual desires and motivation to partner and
yeah.
and experience romantic connection. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I guess like it just takes a little creativity also, right? And like just like it's not going to look like this, but it might look like this, and it can, be just as like invigorating and exciting, right? Like
Yeah.
just
And a really big piece to this topic is the reality and the truth that we can't have our needs met by one person.
yeah.
can have certain needs met within that romantic connection or that partnership, and we are to ensure that we're filling our buckets with all the other pieces that person is not able to support us in having needs met.
Yeah, I think that's like the lesson. Well, there's a few lessons of our generation, right? But just the lesson of the love story, right? Like that. And yeah, I'm like so humbled by it because, like, really, I just can't believe that, like, when I was 38, I thought that love would save my life, right? And then now I'm 39, I have a new relationship, and I'm like, I think it's healthier, right? But like, I'm just like, wow, I feel like a baby dater, like, just like, oh, okay, like, this is like, I mean, I had the experience when I was 25. I moved for love, and it kind of worked out. So I was like, after a month, but you don't, right? Like, this is risky business, right? So it's just like, yeah, I love,
Yeah.
yeah, love on the spectrum. Anyways, yeah, we are all learning, right? So we all have like healthy, creative, fulfilling relationships and a lot of hobbies and maybe alone time. Maybe alone time is good.
It
Like,
is good.
yeah,
So
yeah,
important.
yeah,
And
and like,
yeah,
and
thank you.
sleepovers too. Like, don't you find like, I don't know how the sleepovers work, but I have a sleepover, but we like not every time, every night, like just like once a week or so. Like, yeah, I find like it's hard to sleep with somebody else and then go and do your job. Like, this is, and everyone's like, oh, if you're not sleeping to get like, and I'm just like, this is just, it's just not like we're not like drunk and 21 anymore. Like, this is right. And I think that there just needs to be, yeah, like just a more creative approach to relationships in general, I think.
We have to thank Hollywood for
Yeah.
programming us to consider that image of relating to be the
Yeah.
like the what we're all to achieve,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, sleeping over. It's not not um it's just that it falls outside of for me, my capacity.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to sleep in your own bed.
It's
Like,
yeah, it's just
yeah.
an unreasonable expectation for myself
Yeah.
that yeah, my partner and myself will sleep over every night of the week. No.
No. And I always say longing is one of the best drugs out there. So, this is, don't deprive yourself, space it out, It's
Space it
like,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm wishing everybody longing, romance, and hobbies too. So that's, yeah, thanks for sharing that as well. Now we have just a few more questions, but meditation, I heard you started meditating because you wanted to start feeling more. And I was interested, well, because I have meditation nerds who listen to the podcast. I'm not the best meditator, but I try. But yeah, if it was emotional, physical, and yeah, like how is meditation working for you? Meditation or just like other embodiment practices? I know you're a dancer as well, right? And just like how these practices have helped you connect with yourself.
I met meditation through a partner who I was dating at the time. It was like 8 or 9 years ago. She was a committed meditator and would crack the door open to that whole world for me. And at the same time, there was this collision of being introduced to the world of meditation, and also a personal experience of feeling mm, flat and hardened. I was working a job. This is like right around the time when I was transitioning from my engineering job to the work that I'm doing now with StopGap, um, where yeah, I was just feeling flat, and I was becoming more and more aware of this experience of flatness.
Just like going through the motions kind of thing and not feeling
Yeah,
alive.
yeah, yeah, this life force that was a little dim, and there's a malaise, yeah, going through the motions. And so I went and checked out a Monday night meditation community called the Consciousness Explorers Club
Oh,
here in Toronto. And and my life was changed after that first evening, that first sit with
wow.
the Consciousness Explorers Club, where giving giving myself time to just be. Remember it being a very straightforward there's very straightforward guidance that first visit, where there was a guidance around focusing on the breath, very traditional meditation technique, and then it wrapped with a loving kindness practice where we were to think of some stranger that we had come across that day on our commute to work or travel to the meditation session. Anybody, if we could
Okay.
imagine, and beaming them affirmations of safety and health and well-being, and then extending that intention, that love, those affirmations to someone closer in our orbit, and then beaming out those same affirmations more broadly to the world. And yeah, I remember being cracked open.
Wow.
And I'm not being Pollyanna about this. It's like I I felt a shift.
Right.
Yeah, I was moved by that experience, and it just lit a spark, which I've been stoking ever since. You know, my meditation practice ebbs and flows. Uh,
Yeah, big club. That's one of
the
the biggest meditation clubs, the ebb and flow meditation.
Yep, yeah,
Yeah.
it's real. And I would consider my grief practice to be a meditation practice. I would
Yeah,
consider
with the
my
lake.
the way that I listen and communicate is a meditation practice too. So recognizing uh, maybe somebody's frustration or aggravation, or it could be somebody on the street honking their horn, or for me, someone. I'll explain this scenario that happens, believe it or not, quite often.
Right.
But I'll enter an elevator in a building or here at my condominium, and I'll enter the elevator. There'll be a couple people in it already, and they'll when we get to the ground floor, they'll try pushing my chair out.
Oh, weird.
Very, very weird, super awkward.
Right.
But my meditation practice is to interpret that action as their interest in supporting me, or like it's their curiosity that is in a weird way being expressed in this action.
Right. So it's like transmuting like what could be seen as offensive into understanding and compassion.
Exactly. And that is a meditation practice.
Yeah.
It's recognizing a frustrated response in me, being with it, taking a couple of beats, stopping, sensing it, and then responding with an informed sense.
Yeah, like you talked a lot about like patience, but I think just within when you have a disability, it's like there is a lot of patience. There's like, getting like waiting for somebody to get something for you, seeing that like, the restaurant doesn't have what you need, like straws or whatever. They're just not accommodating. But yeah, maybe we can talk about frustration a little more because at This Is Your Strange and Beautiful Life, we have something. I don't know where I got this for it, and it's a bit cheesy, but it's like called like you transform your despair into creativity, which is maybe a bit dramatic, but like I said, I'm not the best at regulating my emotions. But yeah, so I have this thing when I'm not having the best day, it's like, what can I create? And it's like writing a novel is not recommended on those days because usually you're too sad and tired. But like, I don't know, like I make a lot of collages. And like I'll just like change the photos on my fridge, send a ukulele video to my friends, something like this. But then there's like bigger projects, right? Which maybe it's a novel on a better day, but like the podcast is a bigger project for me. It's like I have taken its ebbs and flows sometimes, but I know that in general my life is better when I have this happening, right? Like a bigger project. And that's kind of like I see that as like stopgap for you, right? Because you've talked about the frustration of how the world is not designed for wheelchair users again and again, right? That's probably one of the hardest things about having a disability is that people just don't even consider that you would have different, right? Like that a little step would stop you from buying ice cream, right? So yeah, like can you talk about like how you were inspired to turn your frustration into this like concrete creative action with like big beautiful ramps and this like awareness campaign? Tell us all about stopgap.
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned that I worked as an engineer uh, before really making stopgap my thing, and the building that my engineering office was in had 3 steps that separated the sidewalk level from the elevator lobby level. So every time I wanted to get in and out of the office building, I had to rely on someone to help set up this big, heavy folding aluminum ramp.
Like clunky. It was a bit clunky. Seems heavy. Yeah.
It's super
Yeah.
heavy. Is something that I needed to have someone help me with. So I just like to have people think about that and how for them what it might feel like to have someone help you get in and out of a space that you frequent regularly, like your home or place of work or somewhere in the community, a shop that you frequent. I had to deal with that situation at least twice a day for 8 years.
Right. Talk about
And
patience.
well, yeah, at the time I was not as far along in my journey of cultivating patience. I was frustrated with that. I was also it that the experience with the office building, it added to the experience of frustration that I was already having, not being able to access spaces equally, and so when the ramp was out, I recognized that everybody loved using it. So parents pushing strollers and delivery people and the elderly and people with a temporary disability
Yeah. Sore
due to an
knee day.
injury. Yeah. And we meaning you mentioned Michael Hopkins, co-founder, we would often take time to listen and have a chat with people that were benefiting from using the ramp, but a lot of delivery people, they did the like I have vivid memories of them like racing down the sidewalk with their carts with big heavy packages wanting the ramp left out so they could use it too. And I'd say 9.5 times out of 10, whether it was someone from one of those groups of people that I mentioned or not, if it was just someone walking into the building, they would typically choose to use the ramped side of this double entryway. So one usually on the left side, the ramp was deployed, and then on the right side was the second door with steps. And yeah, 9.5 times out of 10, people would generally use the ramp side. And so this really helped me understand that when we put something in place for someone with a disability, we generally all end up benefiting from it. And there's lots of precedent out there, whether it be ramps or curb cuts, electric toothbrushes, or technology on our smartphones, the voice to text technology, and captions on our social media, and touch screens. All of these things are examples of designs that were originally intended to help empower and make life easier for someone with a disability. And now we all benefit from those things. And so all of this was coming to the surface. And there was also, for me, knowledge that as Canadians, we have a human right to equal access. As building owners, building owners can benefit from the value of having a space that everyone can access. And I was also realizing that, just due to the natural aging process for all of us, we will inevitably experience a shift in the way that we move around our community. So we're
Yeah.
all of us are connected to this issue. We're all connected to it. And I was becoming increasingly frustrated by recognizing that nothing was being done about barriers that were affecting me, and by affiliation, all of the other people in my life wanting to go to a restaurant to enjoy lunch or dinner together, parents pushing strollers, all of these people that I was learning and enjoying conversations with, it it pointed me and Michael to do something about it, because nothing was being done about it.
Yeah. It's just like accepting again that, like, oh, well, this is your life. Like, this is the way, like, wheelchair users are just not going to have the access. You just can't go to this restaurant, like this museum, whatever. It's just not a priority, right? Like, people are so, they have their blinders on with certain
Yeah,
issues.
Erica was just frustrated and tired
Yeah.
of complaining about it.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I had to
Yeah.
do something about it and
Yeah.
channel that frustration into action. And that is a meditation practice.
Yeah.
This conscious choice to divert frustrated, angry energy into action. And we all have an opportunity to do that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It might take, so you might need to cry for an hour first and then, or yeah, just like take a one step at a time. And yeah, so Stopgap, everybody can go to, what is the website they can go to?
Stopgap.ca.
Okay.
Stopgap Foundation is a registered charity.
Yeah. So you
So
could donate.
we welcome people to contribute with open arms, and that could look like making a financial contribution one time, or joining our wonderful community of monthly donors, or it could look like volunteering.
Yeah. You can paint ramps in Toronto.
Yeah, you can paint
Bright
ramps. You can
green, bright orange, right? Yeah. And yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
So ramps is
share the work, and yeah, follow Luke. Luke, what is you can follow Stopgap and Luke as well. What is the handle as well? Where we'll do the
on
plugs before the.
Instagram. It's Stopgap Foundation.
Uh huh.
So hop on Instagram to follow our journey there,
Yeah.
and certainly check out the website for links to our YouTube channel, um, and certainly check out opportunities for volunteering. We welcome anyone that's got a skill like videography or storytelling, or and maybe there's an experience of disability or a shift in the way that they have experienced moving around their community, that
Yeah.
is really important to share. Storytelling is how we begin to understand each other's unique and equally valuable lived experience and create harmony and connection in our communities. It's so important to listen and begin to tune our ear to stories that other people share. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I see the podcast is just that like everybody it's like there's so many people who are not going to be super famous, although I'm sure this episode with Luke Anderson will be just viral off, it's going to break Instagram. But like that's like it's just the value of seeing the human and the stories behind every face and every person is important. But yeah, we always, I'm like, this is people who may not have had a chance to distill their life into a spectacular TED talk. But I think you're my first guest who has a spectacular TED talk. You did a TEDx talk about your work with StopGap, 2015. I have. And yeah, everybody can watch that. But is there like, if you were going to make a spectacular TED talk today, would you change anything? Like what would the message be if you have a title? What would it look like today?
I think we touched on some of the content already that would be included in that TED Talk 2.0 for me. And it would and it if I were to uh share that talk, it would come at a very opportune time because it would be a topic um all about empathy. We're hearing now how empathy is a detriment from some people whose name I will not mention. I don't want to give them that airspace.
I wonder who it is.
Yeah, you can look it up. It is a really troubling and confusing, um, problematic rhetoric that we're hearing, and it needs to be countered. It needs to be countered with information and lived experience about how empathy is a resource and it is so integral to us as a species for creating harmony in this world and strength through our diverse experiences as humaning. We need to build and invest in our capacity to empathize and be compassionate. So my TED Talk 2.0 would be all about how we can create more connection through opening ourselves up, just asking and just listening.
Okay, well, you probably will get to have another TED talk, don't you think? Like you're kind
I'm
of a
open
big.
for it. I'm traumatized from my first TED Talk experience
Oh,
because
really?
I experienced stage fright and a
Oh,
dissociative, often dissociative experience with being in a spotlight where
okay.
I freeze up.
Okay.
So I froze during that
Oh
TED Talk.
no.
It was my worst nightmare come true.
Wow.
Mhm.
And do you get stage fright a lot, or is because you do a lot of speaking now? Was it new at the time?
No, it
No.
wasn't new.
Okay.
It started in grade 7 when I
Oh.
froze presenting my science project in front of my class.
Oh
And
no.
yeah, so that has followed me along the
Okay.
way to this day where before logging into this platform and connecting with you, I was like, oh yeah,
I
there's
was
that.
nervous too. I get a bit nervous like sometimes, and I do it in person sometimes. So that's like, and I'm not looking at my face. Like you look at your face, it's a little like this is the video is new, but I was nervous too. I mean, I've had my legs like you feel like your legs are gonna disconnect, sweaty, like pukey. I've had pukey feelings too. So
Mhm.
yeah.
For me,
Uh,
it's just a dissociative numbness that kind of drains my brain from any um recollection of what
Right.
it is I'm to say, and so that happened to me on stage in
Oh,
front of
wow.
hundreds of high school kids, and I got off the stage. I had to leave,
Okay.
but there wasn't an exit route because all the audio gear was in the way,
Oh,
and
no.
so everybody witnessed me like squirrel myself away off the stage only to figure out that there was only I just wanted to disappear,
Oh,
Erica.
my gosh. I'm sorry.
The only way that I had, the only option, the only direction that I had was to turn around and go back
Right.
on the stage. So I did, and I started over, and I don't really remember what happened. But
Okay.
we
This
have
is,
video to reveal what happened, and it's okay. It's not my best
ah.
performance, but
Oh,
it
I
got the
didn't realize.
message.
Yeah, we got this like TED Talk check, and then you're like all the drama. Well, no, I can see that being a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure, yeah.
So no pressure to do a stand up. It's just like turn on your phone, go on Instagram. This is my new TED Talk. I find pressure so like just I say this almost every podcast, but my whole life has been trying to take the pressure off. It's just like I was born like I skipped grade 2, and it's just been like just immense but disproportionate pressure ever since. So I'm always like, how can this like not be as big a deal? But then sometimes it's a big deal. Like I do random stand-up comedy open mics in the most unpretentious settings, and just like I have a meltdown every time. Like I just like beforehand I
Yeah.
had this big meltdown. It's like, oh, my whole person is on the line. Why did I sign up for this? What a bad idea. Like,
So
oh
much pressure. Yeah,
yeah,
you nailed it. It's this self-imposed pressure
yeah,
we put on ourselves to not fail, and that
yeah,
is catastrophic.
yeah. Uh, well, no pressure, but I heard you. I heard you played the harmonica. If you want to play it for us, you can, but no pressure. You learned to find like you took up the harmonica during the pandemic.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
like we talked about earlier, there was all this time.
yeah, yeah. I learned the
And
ukulele.
yeah, and I think deep down I'd always wanted to learn how to play an instrument, and
Okay,
it wasn't gonna be stand-up bass because
no,
I mean,
it's
I
an
I
undertaking for all of us. Yeah,
yeah, whenever I see someone trucking a stand-up bass around town, I'm like, props to them.
yeah,
That's a commitment, not one that I wanna be like, it would be an impossibility. I don't wanna say nothing's impossible. It would be such a challenge to
yeah,
truck a stand-up bass. Harmonica, however, is much more manageable, and so for someone with limited mobility, uh and storage. I live in a small place, so
yeah. Yeah,
one of
and it
these
goes like
guys.
right in the. That's all the. It's mostly mouth, so you're like all set.
Yeah. So I connected with, a friend of a friend who is a just brilliant musician and harmonica player, through the beginning of the pandemic, and I've stuck it out with Nico Tyson. Everyone tune into what Nico's up to in the Bay Area in California. He is a gifted musician, and I'm so grateful for Nico's teachings. Music is a language, and blues music really supported and met me where I was at in the pandemic, and maybe this is a relatable quality of experience that others tuning in to this podcast and you, Erica, may resonate with. That it was not a fun time, dark time, and I and
Up and down over here.
yeah, like that blues scale, like that blues scale has a quality of like of and we pay our respects to where that scale comes from, the feeling of like oppression and hardship, um blues music has roots in Africa and the oppressive experiences of the slave trade and how that influenced music in the Deep South. Um, so paying respects to the lineage of the music and how, for me, I've been able to evolve it for myself. So I'll play you something if that's all
Yeah,
right.
go for it. Yeah.
Okay. This is your strange and beautiful life. Yeah. This is your strange and beautiful life. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. Should just change that to the theme song. This is very, yeah. I love that. And it's true, like music is a language. And maybe, did you do instruments like when growing up or like when you're a kid or more
I
sports?
just in grades 7 and 8, I we learned
Concert
it,
band,
not even concert. No,
recorder. No.
I played alto sax,
Okay. Oh, yeah. Got the
but
bass.
didn't really get very far with it, and
Right.
it wasn't something that I was super pulled. I had a pull
Yeah.
towards. Didn't stick. Yeah.
Yeah. And now you have the space for it. Well done. I found you are a virtuoso. I heard you on another podcast. I was like, yeah, that was serious business. Well, thank you so much, Luke. Really can't thank you enough. Is there anything else you want to share with our listeners?
Sure. Yeah, I have a film
Oh,
that
yeah.
I co-created with Lulu Wei. They're a gifted director, um, and it's premiering next week
Oh,
at Hot
goody.
Docs. It's called a Stopgap Measure. It's one of 6 short films that will be part of the Citizen Minutes series. Unfortunately, there's only one screening and it's sold
Oh,
out.
okay.
However, everyone listening out there, I would love for you to be able to see this film and all the other films in the series at a future date where
Okay.
we will be planning another screening where people can tune in virtually or see it in person. So, like, just stay tuned to the Stopgap channels for more
Yeah,
info about
for
that.
the next video. Yeah, and you're in a few movies on the interwebs, and they're very interesting. So, yeah, everybody look, just type Luke Anderson stopgap, and you'll have, days of media. So, I recommend this. There we go. Just almost done. So we're ready for the final credits. So you ready for the final credits? All good? For
Good.
Okay. Well, thank you as always to my darling big sister Tess Levitt, who I think I got contacts with Luke thanks to Tess Levitt. But yeah, she's wonderful. And episode 9, the Big Heart Journey with Tess Levitt. Thank you to Sherwin Tijia, my creative advisor and most cherished friend. Episode 22, Quirky Events with Sherwin. And thank you to my dearly departed aunt, Eileen Gunn, whose surprise and generous gift helped to fund some of this podcast equipment. And thank you to you, dear listeners. You can follow me on Instagram at erica.j.schmidt. I have a website, ericajschmidt.com. I think I'm on Facebook. Just, find me on the interweb, slide into my DMs. Let me know if you're enjoying the podcast. And thanks again, Luke. And so now we're going to sing the theme song one more time. It might be the last time because we might just change it to the harmonica song. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Is your strange and beautiful life. Oh my gosh, we nailed it. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Luke Anderson. Okay, love you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you,
Bye.
Eric. Bye. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Erica.
Yeah, thank you.